said my mom gets mad that I curse. And I'm just like, you had your time, let me have mine. Like,
picture the scene outside my window, as the bill.
so my name is Keisha Soleil, and I originate from these soils, this land, homegrown, Columbus, Ohio. What do I do? I'm an alchemist, I'm a lyricist, I'm a healer, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, somebody's godmama. I'm a woman, I'm indigenous. I don't know, I just create. I create space for people, I hold space for people, I heal, I feed my ancestors. You know, I'm just life and love and motion. A lot of people have like gotten afraid of what ritual is or stepped away from it due to decolonization and just how we live our lives. So I essentially help people heal in a holistic way, understanding that most illnesses, most diseases manifest in our bodies like spiritually before they ever take root in a physical form. So helping people not only like, it's one thing to eat healthy, do some yoga and meditate, but there's trauma and stuff that people have to cleanse away. Or, you know, like you might need to call on your ancestors, and not everybody is tapped in that way. So I'm like, I intercede for people. I'm a liaison. I hold space for people. And I do that in my shows and my performances as well. Every performance I have, there's going to be a ritual aspect, whether it involves fire or speaking to water. Like there's going to be some aspect where I root it back to my ancestors, and I create altars. You know, like, I don't know, people pay me to be myself and to help them heal. You know, like I'm a yoga teacher. I feel like the music, I'm really trying to just make it so I can give music away. I don't necessarily want people to have to pay for my music, because that's just something that, like I said, whether people was watching or not, whether it was recorded or not, I'm going to sing. You know, so I do feel like I've been performing in Columbus since I was about 13, 14. I was a transit arts kid, you know. Me and Shamika, we were the inaugural team for the Columbus City Schools poetry slams. Like, there were no poetry slams for youth before we started it, you know, like, but I don't think a lot of people remember that. When I came up our writing scene here in Columbus is lit. Like, it's so amazing and multifaceted. But when I was slamming at 13 and 14, 15, I had to slam against like Will Evans and the people who like, you know, like, because there was no youth scene. It was like me, Shamika, a handful of other people. That's how I met Marshawn. I met Marshawn when he had cornrows, you know, like on the corner along and 17th at Urban Spirit, which was the black coffee shop for me before Uppercut, you know, like New Harvest. I used to go to New Harvest. So I feel like I've been out here a lot. But when younger people come up, younger people only see their world. You know, so like, and I think that is a problem in the Columbus community, especially with the artists. It's very cliquey, and people always thinking that they the first ones doing something, not recognizing like, bro, just like Native Tongues, how you were saying. Black Tuesday was before Native Tongues, but y'all recognize that. But young people coming to Native Tongues don't know shit about Black Tuesday, you know, like, don't know that like the arts here, it's always been active, it's always been popping. So I feel like amongst my peers though, people respect me, but maybe I need to put myself out there a little more. I do a lot of spiritual work, so I don't always be in the mood to like be dealing with niggas and Twitter. But I don't know, I feel like people also don't want to acknowledge that I rap because my voice is pretty. People just be like, oh, you're singing, it's poetry. Nigga, them is bars. Those were straight bars, okay? My flow is ridiculous, okay? All your favorite rappers are your favorite rappers because they basically sing. But when a singer start rapping, it's poetry. Miss me with that. I have done some research, looking through census papers, looking through death records and like, you know, migration patterns. And I know for sure, like my mother's mother, my mother's grandmother was from the Abenaki tribe in Canada. So my mom, her mother, they were actually indigenous to the Americas. And not just Canada, but that tribe's territory went from Canada down to Vermont. And she also had exchange with the Lenape people. So I have Lenape and Abenaki origin through my maternal grandmother.
Those are natives to...
Those are natives to America.
Okay.
And we know the Lenape people as the Delaware Indians. Like they were literally in New York and like places like that. So my mom's side is there. On my father's side, I have like Taino heritage, and I don't, you know, like, and Taino are the indigenous people of the Caribbean. So, like, you know, even with the slave trade, people forget they were bringing indigenous folks from the Caribbean here too. Like, not all people in America that are black are from Africa. You know, like, a lot of us are actually already home. Like, so the more I started, and I always felt like that, which is why I got called to, like, listen and learn. Because I used to be like, Mom, I really feel like the crows fuck with me. Like, they be talking to me. I think we know each other from a past life or something. And the more research I did, the more I just realized, like, yo, I'm already home. So even when I say indigenous, I could be mentioning, like, people indigenous to Africa or other continents. But the Americas are ours. But it's also, I feel like that's how slavery has convinced black people in America to still be slaves, is we feel like our ancestors are just slaves. Like, you think ancestors, we literally first thought we have is slave. Like, you know, person who is broken, person who is wounded, person who is not a human. Like, we literally in 2018 still consider ourselves 2/5 a human or a person, but don't understand that that's like how we're operating. But the average black person, the average African American, the average Aboriginal is not from the hood. Like,
what does it mean when you say you're from the hood?
Like, I grew up in a housing project in the 90s. Like, my mom was still doing drugs when she was pregnant with me. My dad was a war veteran who came home from Korea drunk and drugged up, you know, like, and depressed, and still dealing with the sorrows and the sadness of what it meant to be a black man. And, like, I mean, my parents were born 1950s. My mom was born in 1950. My dad born in 1953. So, like, my mom grew up during Jim Crow. You know, she had me at 41. I was her change of life baby, a miracle baby. My dad was sterile. They said he couldn't even have kids. And then here I came while they was still recovering, you know, like, and not even just recovering, but doing drugs. My mom was doing crack when she was pregnant with me, you know? Like, not everybody has that narrative. Not everybody has that perspective. I grew up in Eastgate, Nelson Park Apartments, over there on Nelson, and, like, Maryland. You know, like, I grew up in the real hood, like, in a project. Like, I don't have the type of resentment where it's like I carry that with me and it affects how I interact with people or how I look at myself in the world. But there are some things that I missed out on, or some, you know, stuff that I didn't get, which even that I can't dwell too much on that, because the average person is walking around dealing with a lack or a longing inside of them from something that they were deprived of, whether it be love, nurturing, safety, security. So, no, I'm not gonna say I got resentment. I'm just aware, and I'm from the hood. I do a lot of work on healing my trauma, like really coming to terms with my truth, the full capacity of my truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I acknowledge it. I name my demons and I call them out, and I also do that with my friends and my family. Like, you know, like, you can't be mad about something if you know the root of it, you know, if you're actively being aware and working through it. So I meditate, I pray, I sing, I smile, I remind myself what I'm grateful for every day. I take value in my mother's life, you know, I take value in the lives of those around me. I go back to nature. There's a lot of stuff that I do I talk to my ancestors.
Picture the scene outside my window, ay, as the